if you're making a game and there's a certain like emotion you're trying to hit or a certain like quality level you're trying to hit, it's sort of like impossible to do it directly. If you were to, I think this applies to all things creative, but like whenever you try to make something that is exactly like the max of something, it ends up being sort of average. What and an example of this might be music. If you were to make a song which is very, very, very emotional, you're probably going to think, oh yeah, I need, soft vocals and I need a sad, quiet kind of piano, and then I need minor keys, and you'll end up with a sort of, average results, because those are all things which have been done a million times and they sort of fit what you're trying to do. But in general, when you're making something, you have to be new in order to hit these sort of moments, because eventually like the emotion gets staler with time. um, the first time you had an ice cream sandwich or your favorite food, whatever it is, you probably enjoyed it a lot. But after you have it a few dozen times or so, you kind of know it in and out. You know what's going to happen. You know what it's going to feel like to have pop rocks explode in your tongue. That type of thing. The experience kind of dulls, and so if you want to make something that's truly impactful, it has to be never been done before. And so what the practical implication of this is that if you're trying to make something, like I said before, at a maximum of in some way, most emotional, most fun game, most difficult, or not difficult, but you know what I mean, most relaxing atmosphere, you have to you have to almost not think about it. You have to sort of put pieces. You sort of experiment in the general vicinity, and honestly, you really don't have that much control. Um, it almost feels like it's almost an accident to reach this sort of the moment. And I know I'm kind of messing up the presentation here, but this is like sort of the maximum brain capacity to explain this, because this is sort of like the backwards law, if you're familiar with that, but even more difficult to explain. Let me talk about the backwards law. It's basically the psychological principle that the more you want to achieve a mental state, the more difficult it is to do. So, for example, the more you try to fall asleep, you're not going to fall asleep. The more you try to be happy, the more you're reminded of how happy that you aren't. And so, you might think then that like, oh, well, then now what you should do is just do the opposite. If I'm trying to fall asleep, just be really hyper or whatever. And if I'm trying to be happy, be really sad. But you can clearly see that doesn't work either. And so, what the right thing to do is sort of to just not care. You sort of say, you know what, if I'm going to sleep, I'll sleep. If I'm not, I won't. And then just I'll get in bed and I'll lay around. But if it strikes me, I'll and then you sleep. And you probably slept every single day using this method. When it comes to making creative work, it's not that different. I mean, except instead of achieving, peace or happiness or like, whatever, you're trying to achieve a certain emotional stabbing point, stabbing point. You know what I mean? And so you have to really like give it up. I don't really know what this is going to be. This is what it is what it is. The most emotional piece of music probably was made by accident. And as a matter of fact, if you go through and you look through like what was the most popular songs ever written, you'll find that like it was just some offhand napkin scratch work. Yesterday by Paul McCartney was came to him in a dream. He didn't try that. That's like the easiest thing possible. It just implanted into his brain from the heavens or whatever. Um, I'm sure you could find plenty of stories like this. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that, in general, creativity thrives in an environment where the pressure is off. And I know, that you can find some examples of that, that are like counter. And a really good one would be Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is in the creative industry. You know, YouTube is a creative space, and that guy's a maniac. His workplace, from what I've read online of other employees and stuff, is extremely forceful. It's tight deadlines. You know, make this good, get the click-through rate up, get the watch time up. And he's the most viewed channel on YouTube. Most subscribed, most viewed, most revenue. And so you think, well, wait a minute, doesn't this violate everything I just said? Here's the trick, is that the success of the video, unfortunately, does not really correlate with these sort of, like, I hate to say the word quality, but Mr. Beast videos are not life-changing videos. You're not going to watch Mr. Beast video and sort of think about it in the same way that, for instance, I did after watching Parasite for the first time. When that movie ended and the credits rolled, I stood up from my seat, because I was watching it at home. I stood up and I paced around the room with my head in my hands like this, in shock, processing it. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. I have never had anything remotely close to that after watching a Mr. Beast video. And it sort of hints at an underlying problem with the way that YouTube kind of works, which is that the way that views, obviously, you know, views don't necessarily reflect quality as much as they try to. They don't. Click-through rate and watch time means people watch the video, but people are starting to wake up to the fact that just because you watched the video all the way through doesn't mean that you enjoyed it. I'm going to talk about this, you know, later on, but let's bring this back to the main point. If you really do want to hit a point of emotional, you know, sharpness, the best thing to do is to just take your hands off and just let it occur when it happens. You'll know it when you see it. And once you have it, then you can place it where you need it to go. So now, so this is the element of control you do have. Suppose you're writing a play and you have accidentally created a really emotional sequence of dialogue, but it doesn't really fit with anything else that you've made. This is sort of the skill of writing, is now taking this sort of, you know, really great idea and fitting it into something with more structure. And actually, J.K. Rowling has talked about this before. All great writers have something called the lake and the workshop. The lake is the place where these sort of really great ideas come from, but they're sort of raw and they don't really make sense outside your own mind. And that's where the workshop comes in. That's where if you're a writer, your technical skill of wordsmithing, and how do you convey information in the right order, and how do you create characters that set up things properly, and how do you hook them from the beginning, all that's workshop stuff. So if you can master this lake concept, the rest is sort of learnable. Anyone can teach you how to structure a chapter, or how to present information on camera in a YouTube video, or how to play a guitar technically. These are skills anybody can learn. But do you have the discernment? Do you have the sensitivity to know when something is truly new and truly hits these high points? And that's how you know you're on the fast track to quality, which, you know, who am I to say what quality is? I'm just some random bozo in my bedroom telling you some stuff. These are just my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video.